It's been.
Ready to go?
Was.
Hey, whenever you're ready.
It's 41 here. Okay, welcome to the regular council meeting. It's October 3rd and it is 6:01 p.m. And do I have a motion to call the meeting to order? Moved. Second. Okay, all in favor, opposed, carried. Okay, we'll move right to the item number 2, which is closure of the council meeting subject to A, labor, B, legal, and section 90.1, A, C, D, F, G, I, and K, and N. You have a motion to move into closed? Second. All in favor? Okay, carried.
Which is a in this umbrella, which is a consideration, there is justice, love, and just help each other. If there is anything that we can do for the other people, it means consideration. And the consideration is the only word that explains life. Now, you want to be in the same umbrella with me? Surely you could, and you are. The reason is because we are not going to have any argument under that.
Yeah, because the time's up, but we're going to give you an extra
I'm going to finish it.
few seconds, so thank you.
At the beginning, I was trying to say thank you.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, a few seconds. We don't need any argument that who is right and who is wrong. We need talking about the subject or anything that what is that subject and how we can come up with a solution for that subject. This is under this umbrella. No argument. We want to say that what is right, not what I am talking or somebody else. In this regard, thank you so much that we are going to have a party committee, because without that, nothing will happen, nothing will be improved in Heaven Grove or in my house. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Anyone else from the gallery? No, okay. Anyone online, Marina?
No.
Anyone online would like to speak? Please put up your hand. We don't see anyone. Okay, with that, we'll move forward. Okay, next item is a delegation, and that is Farah. If you'll please take the podium. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, everyone. My name is Farah Zurtigan. I think my first time to meet you, sir. After all of you guests that I'm going to talk about, are the favorite subject, the Lower Kelvin Road parking. As can be said, we have been addressing the parking issue for over 17-18 years that we live in that beautiful line space, with various administrations advocating for action from the council and for the mayor. But we still have a lot of issues in the Lower Kelvin parking that we live with every single day. At the same time, those issues that were addressed by the existing administration, like installing signs, that creating bylaws, and those signs will carry out those bylaws to solve some of the issues that have been suspended by our public work manager. For example, signs for parking hours, when the park opens and closes. They're supposed to be open at 8 o'clock in the morning and close at 10 o'clock at night. That sign has been removed. Or sign for a dog that needs to be leashed. Or sign not to urinate in front of our house or in the parking lot. All of those signs have been removed. We ask, what are the benefits for removing these signs? And public worker graciously responded in his email. The signs were removed because because results are not always achieved by simply putting the signs in. I partially agree with him with his statement. If there is no bylaw to enforce these laws, signs really doesn't matter that much. But at the same time, the reason I disagree with him and agree with him partially is when there's no sign in the parking for these bylaws that we worked so hard for 17, 18 years with the previous administration to create bylaws, put signs to carry out those bylaws for people to know that Lions Bay has laws, or people that come from outside of Lions Bay understand there is law. And for people who live here and they need to obey by it, just like when we go anywhere in Vancouver, we obey with their laws. But when I asked that in the notes, why we don't have sign, again in quote, it was stated in his email, public workers manager email, that people are clearly not being deterred by sign, but they certainly annoy them. Judging by vandalism, public work is moving toward removing the signage village-wide that doesn't do anything. I completely disagree with that. And I tell you why, because one of the other things he mentioned, that if there is an issue, call the police. We cannot do much. Okay, we call the police. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Teenagers are there having party in the parking lot. First of all, it takes more than 2 hours for the police to get here. We experienced that individually because a few years ago, Kambiz and I had an accident right in front of our house. I got hurt and I was stuck in the car. It took the police 2 hours from the Squamish to get to the Lions Bay, 2 hours, because it was winter and it was bad weather. And I was stuck for 2 hours, freezing to death in the parking lot when the fire people come in and put, towels and, blankets and things on me. Make the long story short, if there is no sign, let's go through the scenario. What happens when the police gets here? What do we do at 2 o'clock in the morning? First of all, we have to stay up for the police to get here. And then at 2 o'clock in the morning, if the person who created the issue is still around, what do we tell the police? They came here when the parking is closed, parking closed at 10 o'clock. The police gonna say, where does it state the sign? The person's gonna say, there's no sign. So they come in anytime they want. So the sign do matter. And I don't know why we're removing the sign. What is the benefit you guys get for removing the sign? That's what I disagree with that. I just want to reiterate that the power comes from the constituents, and the elected officials should try to do the right thing for the village, for the benefit of Lions Bay residents by approval of the council and the mayor, not unilaterally. The decision should be made collectively and collaboratively, not by one person. We need to have a committee to collaborate and collectively work together to address these problems and determine the solution options. But it seems that our public work managers have already made those decisions and stated in quote, I'm afraid the previous advisory and prohibitory signage will not be reinstalled at the Calvin Grove parking lot. And again, to me, that's not acceptable because we live these issues on a daily basis for 18 years. And we simply ask for signs. We have provided the council with many pictures, video, and emails and evidence of all of these issues that we refer to it. We have identified specific instances when parking problems are the most severe, like when teens and younger generation came during the summertime and put fire out in the back of their RV trying to cook barbecues there. So we address that to say that has a sense of urgency to put some sort of signs that you can't put fire because it will create wildfire in front of our house. And we did have one wildfire this past summer in the cliff. We have additionally received and demonstrated community support from the residents regarding solving these issues. In the past, we gathered and provided letters and signatures from all of our neighbors who are directly impacted by these parking lot issues. But for many, many years, we come here and talk and send emails and create videos and pictures and all of that. But we get some results by creating bylaws and signs, but then later on, another administration comes in and ignores and removes signs or doesn't follow the bylaws or things get worse. So we do have a proposed solution, which is quite simple for the parking lot, and it doesn't cost that much. But I'm not here to provide, I know the solution, Kamis knows the solution, he has discussed it with many of you. But without a parking committee, if I just tell you the solution is, then I'm unilaterally making a decision for you. So my ask of you is to please consider, and as Kambi said, be considerate of us residents living every single day with these issues on a daily basis, 6 o'clock in the morning, this morning. I woke up with, bunch of dogs coming back and forth and, and then people coming to the parking lot because there is no sign what time the parking opens. But if we do have a signage that park opens at 8 o'clock in the morning, then we have rights to tell people you can come and park here at 8 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning or 5:30 in the morning. So this happens every single day, and I do work from home, and I open the windows and there are sounds all the time. It got better, summer is over now, but these issues is lingering all the time, especially through summertime. So my only ask is to please allow the parking committee to be created and established and formed, so these decisions are made collaboratively, collectively, and please stop ignoring our issues. We're resident, we want to live here, we want to retire here, I want to die here. This is a beautiful place, we have beautiful neighbors, and we want to live in tranquility. So help us to, get to where, why the reason from the day one we came to Lions Bay, and establishing and forming a public, parking committee to make these decisions and resolve these issues. And I'm not going to sit down for a minute because I want to go around the table, because every time I come here, I say the same thing and I repeat myself. If I may go around the table and ask every one of you, what have you done in order to create and establish and form this committee? And what are the options that we have? Can I just go around the table and ask, maybe start with the mayor, please?
Well, I put the parking committee on the agenda this evening because I thought we've heard from you many times and we've heard from many others in the community, and we're throwing different ideas out there. So I put it on the agenda this evening, and I would have been for moving forward and appointing one of the councillors or the mayor to head up this committee, to get it moving, to request participation. So that was struck off the agenda. So that's my comments.
But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, I think I heard somebody said eliminate the parking committee. Okay, then it's like that.
Okay, I'll go next. I'm the one that moved to strike it because we're going to be going into a strategy session and we have other committees that need to be addressed. And I felt it's more appropriate to address all committees at the same time. Is recognizing that the urgency is lessened because summer is over. But that being said, I realize that the issues are year round. But we will be going into strategy session within the next few weeks. And that just seemed like a more appropriate time where we could have a more robust discussion and really lay out the framework for a committee as well as other committees. So
thank you for that. Do we have a timeline of when or approximate estimate of when the
strategy session is? I think we were waiting for our CAO to come on board before we chose that date, but it traditionally happens within the last half of November. So I would say probably the next 5-6 weeks would be realistic that we would have that discussion.
And what is the outcome of the strategy session? Would that decision be made from the strategy session, or
we would define the committee, what we're looking for, who would chair the committee, and then we could go out to the community with all of the committees and what we're looking for with everything. But there's a much more robust conversation in the strategy session about many aspects of the community and where we're looking for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years sort of plan.
So there will be more like a roadmap with
absolutely, yeah,
what's going to happen for the parking
and dedicated time to actually come up with something tangible.
Is there help I can do, because I can provide the list of all the issues, but I'm sure all the minutes that
I think that that would be very helpful once the committee's struck, but the strategy sessions are open to the public, so you're more than welcome.
I'm happy to support any way I can. I'm not proposing I'll be on the committee, but I'll be happy to support the committee in any way.
Farah, we're running out of time, so any other councillors want to comment? Provide a comment for Farah?
No, I think Jamie summarised it pretty well. My opinion as well. We need to get sort out these committees and decide who's doing what and get on with some good work. But I think we need to talk about them all together at the same time.
Collectively.
Collectively.
Thank you.
So we had, by the way, we had done this before prior to Jamie being elected. We now need to revisit that. Some of it happened, some of it didn't. With a person, man down, person down. So we're going to go back and revisit it.
Councillor Ryder?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything further to add. I think that it will be revisited and it's part and parcel of a multitude of other things that we also need. And we're hoping to get to, yeah.
Councillor Bowden?
Just very briefly, as a result of the opening of the trailheads and the reopening of the parking. During that discussion, there was a lot of concern about parking issues throughout the village with different focuses. There was a concern about evacuation plan and also concern about the fire safe against mentioned. So I think we're looking at all of those together and trying to get the best impact that we can to address the safety of the village overall. So.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Okay, we'll move on to the next item, and that is the approval of 7A, approval of the regular.
By the way, we are going to say thank you so much for your time, of your meeting. And I have put this sleep tonight because I'm sure that you are parking committee. I do not park the line. Before that, please put the sign back.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, item number 7, approval of the September 19th minutes from 2023. Page 7, do we have a motion to approve those minutes? Second. Okay, discussion. Amendments,
I
discussion.
have a couple very minor ones. It's a minor correction under number 4. It's the North Shore Standing Committee on Substance Use, not
Right.
abuse. And I think that came up one more time, but if we could, yeah,
So North Shore Standing Committee on
substance use,
Use.
not abuse. Yeah,
Thank you.
and I believe that's not it.
Okay, any other adjustments?
Yes, number 8, Bear Smart update. Not Chris Forward, it's Chris Ford.
Board, yeah.
Okay. Wave, and also over the next page, below the box, it's Councilor Brown provided an update. It's Tyler Bannick, B-A-N-I-C-K. Not Bannick, I'm sorry, my B's and my V's probably sound very similar. It's Tyler Bannick of the CN. And B-A-N-I-C-K, so it's just simply.
Is that it, Mike?
Okay,
Yeah, could I just clarify in terms of the village evacuation plan? The action was requested the council review the evacuation plan. Was council asked to review the plan or was
What page is this and what item?
item under mayor, page 1262? Distribute the village evacuation plan and the community emergency plan. Anyway, I'm not sure.
I believe it was the emergency brochure because we determined that that's what we have, not
Right.
yet a plan. But we did resolve to do that.
So 10B should be amended to read evacuation brochure, not plan.
Okay.
And was it, can you clarify, Neville, did you say that it was published in 2021 or was it
Yes.
20?
Talking about the brochure, it's 2021.
Okay, so 2021,
But it wasn't corrected in the meeting. It was read this way as it's written. I asked for it to be corrected, but it was read and voted this way.
okay,
It wasn't corrected.
so then,
So the way it's written here is what was read and voted.
okay, so
One final, I caught a couple of those. I think the North Shore Standing Committee.
Oh, yes, on,
Page 13,
yes, C2,
right, that should also read North Shore Standing Committee on Substance Use, right? And that would be C2, right? And one final thing.
Does the next part where it says abuse, it says promoting a substance abuse campaign, you're not promoting a substance use campaign. Right?
The committee is called the North Shore Standing.
But you're not promoting use, you're not, okay.
We're promoting it's essentially a educational piece on the overdose crisis.
Okay, just one final thing on page 11, under 10A1.
11?
Page 11 of the package, 10A1. The COO advised that the annual report was not typically amended by council. Is that what occurred?
The discussion was whether it came to council for approval.
Right.
But we didn't provide
And the CEO said typically it was a staff report.
I see.
I don't know if the word amended was what did you intend, Ross?
Yeah, it's not adopted was the word.
Okay,
But the annual report needs to be adopted,
Yes.
so.
Okay.
It doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so change amended to adopted?
was not typically adopted.
Well, I think the purpose of that was just to basically update council on the fact that it hasn't been adopted.
I see.
That it needs to be adopted.
So we should perhaps change it to the CEO advised that the annual report has not yet been adopted by council?
Yep.
Okay.
and that typically council did not provide input.
So that's
and
different.
edits.
So that's a different statement. It says here was not typically adopted or amended by council. And we're saying and now we're requiring council to actually adopt this. Is that what you're wanting to say?
So this is sort of very muddly. So there's two pieces to this. So the first is normally annual reports come forward to council and it's just a data dump. By and large, other than recounting, here are some of the projects and things that have been achieved over the course of the year. So there's really no purpose or room for amendments. It's typically received,
Scientific.
and adopted. Yeah, it's sort of rubber stamping sort of exercise. The rigor is done up front. And it's just a data dump. It's normally how it doesn't always have to be that way, but that's normally how. So that's the one piece. And the second piece is, and
We still need to adopt it.
you still have to.
So this was an update of the audit and annual report status. So would it be a correct reflection of the minutes then to amend this to say the CEO advised that the annual report had not yet been adopted by council?
That's really the essence. That's the key essence of.
Okay. You've got in here and council doesn't normally amend it or adopt, is that, do you want that or do you want council participating in the operations? Well,
It doesn't
What
need
is
to
it?
be, it doesn't need to be in there. I mean, it's just basically the purpose of this was to update council that the audit, the annual report is outstanding, needs to be done, needs to be adopted.
Yeah.
That was the purpose of it. And then the other was just general, associated.
okay, any other changes, amendments? No, all in favor? Aye.
As amended?
As amended?
Yeah.
Opposed?
Yes.
Motion carried. Okay, business arising from minutes. Done. Okay, unfinished business, 9A, 265, follow up with ministry regarding vacancy tax and report back to council. Councilor Reuter.
So I have a draft on my desk that I'm working on, hope to have it in front of council for the next meeting. And I won't take up a lot of time. I'll just say that it is a complex matter involving multiple levels of government. So I hope to have something written for you for the next agenda for us to consider at the next meeting.
Okay. Any questions, Councilor Ryder?
Look forward to seeing it.
Okay. Item 284, contact the local member of parliament. Legislation, Assembly of Parliament, Councilor Brown.
I've updated both our MLA and our MP regarding my meetings with Mr. Bannock at the UBCM. And he's offered to assist in facilitating a meeting with Transport Canada. There was also the operations manager was at the booth there. So I don't know that the facilitation was required, but he did offer to be helpful. It's not a CN decision. It is a Transport Canada decision. And so we'll continue to pursue that in terms of maintaining the westbound stop signs. But I'm actually quite anxious to move ahead with the other stop signs because they really make a lot of sense in terms of the positioning of them, I believe. So hopefully we can split those out and sort that out. But what will happen is we're going to need to meet with Transport Canada to talk about the stop.
Okay, any questions?
Westbound sign.
Councilor Brown? No, okay, that's ongoing.
Just one more comment that I again have witnessed the truck train not signaling.
Not signaling. I raised that with them, just for the gallery and so on. Councillor Cullinan raised the fact that when the pickup truck goes through, doesn't activate the lights, and there has been near misses in that collision. Now, CN was quite upset because apparently the truck can activate those lights remotely, and so there was going to be a discussion with the staff on that. So, but it's even more the case that that is an intersection, and the rules of intersections need to apply.
Yeah.
So even strengthens our case, I believe. It's not a huge thing we're asking for, but it's a bureaucratic.
It's like running a red light
situation. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that update. That's important. Okay, item number 287, update diesel reports and recent information. We'll report back to council. Mr. Burr, all works.
I've done no further work on
it. Okay, all right, that is ongoing.
Could we, sorry, Cole, can we get some sort of date when you think you can get to that? It's been a long time, like several CAC meetings since then, and I've been asked. I'd like to give them some sort of. Not this coming council meeting, get them informed. Okay.
Thank you. Next item 293, Bayview Bridge. I got just missing wood. Any further updates?
There's been a cleanup done. The wood's on order. I just today waived on my own recognizance need to inspect the preservative application. The lion's share of the bridge was inspected for preservative application and loading, made by the same mill. I have confidence that it will be done the same way. That will save us a month of keeping the scaffolding up. Once the remaining major timbers are in place, there's a few items on the engineer's punch list that will take all of a few hours to take care of. Then the scaffolding will come down. Between now and sometime in the future, the CAO, and is aware of this, is going to have to negotiate with the homeowner taking ownership of the bridge, which was the impetus for the whole thing taking place. So it's somewhat separate to the actual completion of the bridge, but the project will not be over until up until the bridge department to the.
Okay, hallmark ongoing, and we got.
Can I just ask a question about that? Do we not need to bring Modi into that conversation, from my understanding?
It's already been taken care of. So the Modi has given us carte blanche.
Really?
The abutments belong to them, and the abutments were not changed, and they didn't want to know. This is the short answer.
Wow, that's encouraging. Thank you, Carl.
Could I?
Okay, Councillor Brown.
For moving this forward. It's just, it's a huge task, a lot of moving pieces, and just really exciting to have the tent down and things moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's
congratulations.
Thanks. It's a nice enough bridge. Like that kind of thing.
Fair enough.
Not as nice as the one you proposed.
Okay, thanks, Carl. We'll move to item number 294. Best practices on correspondence and communication policies. Mr. Blackwell, second week on the job. You're on it, I'm sure.
Well, no, but I will be,
Okay, ongoing.
as is the next one.
Okay, 295.
So,
Sorry.
and in the previous council meeting, we suggested adding 1407 to this as well. As I recall.
Just added it.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Okay, item 295, review procurement. Is that the beach park?
No, that's in the CAO's hands in terms of.
Okay.
So I can advise it's ongoing. I have a draft in preparation. There's fairly minor tweaks, but the draft will be reflective of the realities of purchasing and optimizing, trying to find the middle ground between oversight and realistic spending parameters to ensure that we are optimizing utilization of staff time and not wasting time by overly pedantic approaches to spending. So it's sort of an optimized situation that I'll be bringing forward to council to look at.
Okay, that'll come in the next meeting,
Hopefully.
okay, ongoing. 296, audit and annual report. Blackwell and Cherkoff.
Thank you. I will defer to John. Maybe.
So I've had some correspondence with our auditors ongoing for the last couple of months. We're basically done with the audit. They just need the adopted closed meeting minutes. A list has been sent through. Here's what we need to date from our audit partner. Once we get that, we can move forward with presenting the audited financial statements to council and the SOFI reports and the annual report. We can't file any of these without the audit report. So mission priority is reviewing and adopting those missing meeting minutes. So that's where we are with that.
Do these minutes continue to add up the longer we go, or did they put a pin in the date?
So there was, I've had a number of conversations with our audit partner at BDO. Typically, they would accept drafts of minute meetings if we were kind of like on track for everything. But they were requesting that adopted meeting minutes to the date of the report be provided. Just because it's been dragging us long and they want to make sure that they've covered up anything as far as contingencies.
Sorry, what do you mean the date of the report? The date of the audit?
Date of the audit report.
Not the financial year?
No. So if we sign off, say we signed off the audit report today, they would want all meetings to today.
So if we had wrapped it up a couple months ago or earlier, we wouldn't deliver what we're having to deliver now.
No. Every meeting that goes past requires adopted meeting minutes to be provided to the auditor.
So when we adopted all the 2022 minutes in June or July, which we thought was the ask.
Yeah.
We would have to not only have done the 2022 minutes, but also the ones up until July.
Yes, that's correct.
So that was never the explanation or the ask. And it seems bizarre for a 2022 audit that you'd have to have yesterday's minutes. How does that make any sense? Okay.
Okay, it'd be good to get a sort of a cutoff and then get all the minutes from there, and they might give us a week to deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So Joe, for clarity, the auditor's BDO is requiring past or approved minutes up to this moment to move the audit forward for 2022.
That's correct.
Seems bizarre.
Seems absolutely remarkable.
9 months. 10
Feels
months
like
into-
being held to ransom to ensure that it doesn't happen in the
This is
future.
gonna be a lot less minutes to ensure the next.
Wow.
Yes.
So my advice is pitter patter. You're way over the line. June 30th was the drop dead date. You're obviously well past that. It is what it is. So I find it bizarre, but I'm not the auditor. So with the auditor, you just gotta march to their tune because we gotta get this stuff done.
Can I put a motion out on this? It will humor me. So I think the open meeting minutes are all up to date. I don't think there's an issue there. Well, there shouldn't be. These are closed meeting minutes.
There are both, if I could.
There are some open ones as well. Okay, I think the open ones are pretty easily. Can we put a motion forward that the CAO contact Raincoast and get a copy of all the draft minutes? No, can we put a motion forward to the CAO?
Okay.
Get a copy of all the draft closed meeting minutes? There's confidential stuff in there. And that's why they got held up in this quagmire. So I would like to put a motion forward that the CAO receive and then bring to council in the next meeting all outstanding closed minutes. And I think the open ones is probably just an admin function to clean itself up.
I'll second that.
Sounds reasonable.
Discussion, question, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed, motion carried. Ross, we 3. It's going to be busy.
Is that gonna be busy or I don't know?
Yes.
Okay, Joe, don't go anywhere. You just stick around, but we've got a couple items, then you're back up. Okay, 297 cost benefit analysis on storage options, Ross. We've got ongoing, is that ongoing? Still ongoing. Okay. 298, review of evacuation plan, and I would put / brochure. That's council, that's ongoing, I would imagine, until we get in front of the emergency response committee.
Sure.
Okay, ongoing. Item 299, staff time on climate action initiative, Ross.
So this was a question posed. We've not resolved it. This is about amount of staff time associated with doing facilitating a survey. So Maria and I will confer tomorrow and get an answer out. My hope is tomorrow for council.
Okay, so that's ongoing. Okay, we'll move to 10A, and 10A1 was struck from the agenda. 10A2 is the finance budget versus actual tracking. Mr. Cherkoff, will hand it off to you. It starts on page 17, and if you would run us through that and give us a high-level overview, and then we'll open it up for some questions. We won't want to take, I think, any more than a reasonable amount of time, maybe go around the table. And because that's going to undergo some additional revisions, I'm sure. So over to you.
Great. I just want to thank Councillor Abbott for taking some time earlier today to pose some questions. So in response to the questions you'd asked, just for clarity, what you're being presented with is a snapshot of our financial position at June 30th. This is in no way a forecast. It's strictly what's been booked to date versus what our budgeted amounts are in a comparison to 2022. As at June 30th, our total assets were $10.5 million, of which $6.5 million was cash and about $4 million was accounts receivable. That's taxes receivable. Our tax notices went out in June, and then we collected all of this in July and August. So that receivable is gone. Our accounts payable were about $222,000 at June 30th. As at today, that number is $348,000. It hasn't changed significantly. Neither have any of the other balance liability accounts there. So when you look at the accumulated surplus, as at June 30th, it says we have a $32 million surplus versus 26 million, call it 26.5 million last year. It's high because we're only halfway through the year. We still have 6 months of expenditures to incur. And we also paid out $1.8 million in collections for the school taxes, police taxes, what have you in August. Based on this is a forecast. After accounting for what we have left budgeted for our expenditures for the last 6 months of the year, and taking into account our payments for collections on behalf of other taxing authorities, we'll end up around 27.5 million in accumulated surplus. versus 26.7 last year. So about $1 million into the kitty to answer your question from earlier.
So that would then be explained by the $900,000 grant or $990,000 grant that we got gifted.
Yeah, basically.
So basically, we're on track.
For everything.
It's perception that we made $5 million extra. Well, no, it doesn't. It's just that one action.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to specify that June is just a snapshot of what's in the kitty right now, but we're gonna basically be exactly on track for budget by the end of the year.
So your 27 was projected for years in,
Yes.
which is the 26 plus the 1 million minus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so if we go to, let's briefly run through page number 2 for revenue and for the statement of operations. Taxation, it says over budget by 1.8 million. That's again because we had money in the bank for collections on behalf of other municipal taxing authorities, like police taxes and hospital. We paid that out in August. So as at September 30th, we are within $20,000 of that budget. We collected $2,090,000 and our plan was $2,100,000. So we're basically exactly on. Same thing with utility user rates, we're exactly on. Government transfers is a little under. We're hoping to reverse that once we start spending money on the cloud building and getting reimbursed for that. But everything else is basically on par. And then for our expenses, we are under budget because we're only halfway through the year as far as this goes. I expect to be, we're trending to be on budget for each department. There's no red flags for any departmental items as far as being over budget significantly or even at all.
Do you want to take questions as we go, or do you want to go to the end?
Well, let's go. Maybe questions could be. Let's just go department by department if that's easier. So general fund, page 4, administration.
I've got a question on the statement of accounts.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So the government transfers as in June of 1.35 million.
Yep.
So we know about 1,998,000, whatever it was. Where the other 400K?
That came from the small communities equalization grant of $298,000. And then we had some
small communities utilization grant.
Small communities equalization grant. We get that every year.
How much is that?
$298,000.
Okay.
And the other 100?
That's from the provincial government. So we received $10,000 for the Upper Bayview Corridor Plan, 26,000 for amounts related to the Lions Bay Connector, and then 29,000 related to reimbursements from the government for emergency services related to highway.
Sorry, what was that regarding the connector?
Lions Bay Connector, 26,558. I'd have to look a little bit more into that, more specifics. That's what it was related to.
So we've applied for the design fees for the connector and we've been given the grant money.
The design.
The design fees. But depending on the outcome of that discussion, we might be sending the government money back potentially. Okay.
Translate that, yeah.
So 2016.
Not translate.
Yeah.
I had a brief discussion with TransLink during one of our meetings, and they said if there was changes to that connector project that they would be amenable to changes. So just make it something that we want to make adjustments to make that more reflective of what the community wants. They're open to it.
Can I just interject as well? I've sent council a note on that, but just remind you that our 23 grant is $116,000, which TransLink is willing to apply to the connector project, bring it up to 70% funding, and they will also lend us a project manager for free.
Wow.
Yeah, that all needs to be rolled up into the report, I guess, when we get it.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah.
Not going to be more to give, but we'll do that.
The good news stuff that you just said, as well as the bad news stuff about where it is on budget, which is not so pretty.
Good, thanks for that, Carl. Joe, continue on and
Okay, so I'm on page 4, general fund administration. Basically, all of our revenues are encapsulated in this, aside from the utility stuff. In here, we've spoken to that. The only thing that's missing on year to date is allocation of amortization. The budget's 441,000 for to June 30th to be half of that. We book our amortization and our internal allocations at year end. So that's the only thing that's kind of missing in this projection. As far as that's all non-cash. As far as cash and versus budget, this is what you see, what we spent versus what we expect to spend for the entire year. And we're basically under budget for, or on budget for everything. If there's got any specific items, are there any specific line items that you'd like to speak to before I go to the next one? There are a number of notes here supporting each item.
We're under budget versus actual.
Yeah, any questions?
So on the grants on note 2, it's no longer cap, right? It's LG cap.
Yeah.
And then on these items below, item B, monies we received. So we received 998,000. Sure why the number above is actually 990,000, but that's probably not sure what that is.
What page of the agenda is it?
21.
Okay.
I'm just down the next page down. But then it says, Joe, it says Clack Building and Lineberg Beach Park, not yet received. So we haven't done any grant applications for either of those 2 projects.
The grants are approved. We
No, sorry, we haven't applied for any grant funding for either of those 2 projects.
There have been no claims submitted to the ministry during the current year. There has been no work.
Well, it has been work, we've done design.
That was, as I mentioned, it was previously claimed. So that part has been claimed. Nickel John.
On the Clack Building.
Yeah.
Okay, so we spent some of the 499 then.
Yeah, so it's I think there is a total of $30,000 that was claimed for Nickel John sign. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. In the beach park, nothing. Okay. Then on the connector, as you said, the connector one is once again that's received. Okay. The CUP project. Was that for the survey? It's a really round number.
What is the number?
10 grand.
We did a topographic survey, I believe, and I think ISL did some work in 23 on the CUP project. They did the major design work in 22.
Okay.
Joe, maybe you can just continue to run through and why don't we ask questions a little bit later, because this is, I think it's all night if we.
Be quick if we just let them as we go, because I think it's gonna be a lot.
Well, then shoot the questions as he moves through, if he can.
That's what I'm doing.
Have we covered page 20?
We're on page 21, yes.
Okay.
Asset management phase 3. It's come to council on that. Is the further development we've been paid 5,500. We've paid out another 5,500.
That's what was recorded in the account here. I don't have that one right in front of me. I can provide you more details. Let's get back to my laptop.
Okay. And then records management. Do we know what that number is, what that's about?
Rain Coast.
Meditation.
Rain Coast.
That's one item that we will be over budget with.
Okay. Okay, so this isn't in the previous records management, that was a confusing idea that we had about digitizing and stuff. Okay, that's raincoats.
We're digitizing as well, are we not?
Well, I know that's the confusion part. I think this budget line item for records management was
No.
about the digitization process. It wasn't about minute taking. That minute taking thing for raincoat should not be here. This is the wrong place for it. It should be against a potential saving on staff time because we didn't have anyone to take minutes. This 10 grand budget was about the digitization program. We rolled over every year. So that's getting coded to the wrong place. I guess that's the point. As I think through it.
So we should have the raincoats fees in a separate line item.
Well, I think they should be somewhere else because they're professional fees, but they in lieu of staff time.
Staff salary, yeah.
But that $10,000 budget that this is getting coded against was definitely for the digitization process, which I think hasn't happened this year. Okay.
Anything on note 6?
I don't know if anyone wants to say anything on note 6.
That would eventually, sorry, picked up the other comment there. So that records management money would potentially be available for additional staff to do some digitization to move things ahead with.
Yeah, we've done it. We've been doing it for the last 3 years in a row.
Right.
We've typically underspent. But you know, often sometimes it was done in the summer with temporary staff.
Right.
It's been a thing for several years. I don't know how far it's got. But we typically underspend the budget, but that's what that budget was for.
Okay.
Pretty clear in my mind about it.
My point is that there's stuff all over the office that needs to be digitized and then shipped out.
That's what's been happening.
Yeah.
Ross, are you happy with the office? You need some help in there digitizing, cleaning that up?
There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. That I think is certainly one piece. As far as I understood it, it's ongoing. Then there's the requirement to actually store the hard copies as well. So the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. So that's another item that council has to reconcile is to optimize the spending on record storage.
And as you advised us last time, digitization is one thing, but we have requirements to keep hard copies
Of some materials.
of some materials. Yes. Yes.
Perfect.
Hey, Joe.
Okay, so this note 6, Joe mentioned this to you earlier as well. So the difference between the 2023 budget and 2022 actual is 263,000. Note 6, I'm just going to go out and say note 6 is misleading. There was no $180,000 savings package paid last year. We know that. Council can just say there wasn't, and not what there was, which probably shouldn't be in the open. But the rest of the 263,000, can I assume this is vacation payouts that were forced on staff members and various other things? How do we account for 263?
That would be a portion of it. I guess perhaps the wording in the note is incorrect. I could.
Correct. Yes, I think you should correct that.
But was paid was 135 in one lump sum for wellness, accrued wellness, vacation, and termination benefits in December. And then there was an accrual our auditors proposed for further potential items, which amounts to good bulk of it.
So we might want to just clean up that wording there.
Yeah.
Certainly wasn't a statement. Okay.
I'll move on to page 6 of the budget versus actual tracking, which I guess is 22 in the. So this is the council. And basically track for pretty much everything here, or nothing really stood out to me. There are going to be some allocations. So note 4, the election costs is currently is reported for year to date at $2,600. We had budgeted 15,000. There's going to be some reallocation of staff time costs and contractor fees for that. I think they're quoted to an incorrect place, but that should be around 22K.
Okay,
But everything
22, not 2.
22.
Okay, I had that as a question. All right.
Moving on to the next page, which is emergency EOC. Pretty much everything's on track here. It was the one item that I wasn't sure about was we didn't have a budget for communications costs. In 2022, there were about $7,500. We didn't budget anything though. In 2022, they're related to new laptops and the physical hardware. And then in the current year, we ended up spending some money on alertable software subscriptions and other software subscriptions. So that was unplanned for, or at least not budgeted for.
But there would have been a budget, albeit smaller, for Lions Bay Alert, which is our previous provider of that service, right? So the budget shouldn't be 0.
It could possibly also be part of the ESS line item because there's a 0 item year to date there, and we budgeted 15,000. So maybe it's like one basket together.
No, the ESS stuff that's and that's always typically grant related. That's bits of equipment and stuff for ESS. There should be a line item somewhere. Maybe it's in general admin for Lions Bay Alert. I don't know. We did get a report saying it with this new alertable system is more expensive, but far more efficient.
But it shouldn't be compared to a 0.
It shouldn't be
cost.
compared to 0. That's
Yes.
yes.
Bylaw services.
Sorry, but before we carry on, why is washing the park washrooms an emergency service? Item 4. That seems to be in the wrong place.
Page.
That's where that's a budgeted item. Okay, right. Yeah, I can take a look at that.
That's 23.
Guys, I think that was carried forward partly with COVID stuff with the supplies and cleaning. But I can take a look at the specifics for the 2023 budget.
Cleaning the park washrooms is not an emergency service. It can be there.
Well, it was during COVID.
There was use of the COVID money when we had that COVID grant and we could use it for that. And that's probably why it ended up in the wrong place. But it's no longer an emergency service. It might be to some people in a certain moment in time.
That's our.
I don't think we'll make it an emergency.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, let's keep it moving along.
Next page is bylaw services.
Can I just one comment on number 4, and this goes to the evacuation plan versus brochure thing. So in here it says it's talking about the EPC role, and one of the things in his list to do was an evacuation plan, which is not the brochure, right? And that is still meant to be something he's supposed to get done this year. Okay.
In the interim, we just go off the brochure that was mailed out.
The brochure that was mailed out, it's never been mailed out.
Apparently it was mailed out as,
Oh, the old one?
yeah.
Okay, well, Phil's done a new one with alertable. That part hasn't been mailed. Yep.
Hey, Joe.
Next page is bylaw services. Revenue, we look at this as a revenue perspective, to halfway through the year to June, right before the bulk of the busy season. There was $109,000 in fees, licenses, permits and fines levied. We were budgeting 263. As of September 19th, we were at $214,000 on that line item. So basically tracking as we should be to what the budget was.
And to be clear, these are fines and permits, not parking revenue.
Fees, licenses, permits, and fines. Mostly it's fines by law infraction.
But not parking fines.
Parking fines.
Yeah, parking.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And parking permits, so by the reads of it.
Mm-hmm.
but not other revenue created by parking, as in
Answering machines.
yeah.
Where's that?
I don't know where it is. I couldn't spot it, but it's probably under.
So do you allocate some of the staff time on this?
We don't allocate, say, Marina's time for all of the processing, all of the parking disputes and tracking all of that. That time isn't specifically moved to bylaw. Yeah, so that's something to consider.
How much time would you estimate?
Marina says it's basically, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a full-time job.
Summer.
So that would be interesting because we've been talking about a parking analysis.
Yeah, if I could,
But,
this is a matter I think council needs to consider. Is the return on investment, given the volume of work that needs to be done. Things are sliding off the table because we are operating a parking service during the summer months, and there's an inordinate amount of staff time allocated to that. If that is council's priority, so be it, but it means other stuff comes off the table. So this is something that I think a full report setting out all of the implications
So,
for council's consideration will be coming.
so just to give you some background, we didn't go here unknowingly. This started with COVID and influx of hikers and the whole big boom and us. And we have visited this every year for the last 3 years, exactly as you're discussing. But I have no doubt we'll do it again this year and again next year, because it is a significant issue. But yeah.
And there's no magic bullet.
And it's considered not just the business case. There's the social case. There's a lot around it. So anyway, yeah, you can maybe find the old reports and see what we thought before. And bring it back. No. You won't get away with it on this one.
so are you doing an ROI report or a cost benefit analysis?
Effectively, that's what it will.
And you're going to factor in Marina's time and
Absolutely.
others?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Be good to see that.
Our main budget item in expenses for bylaw is salary. As of June 30th, we're at $43,000 with a budget of $114,000. As of September 19th, total salary costs amounted to $82,000. And from then on, we only have one bylaw officer working at the moment. So we will be on track, if not less, for salary costs in bylaw. On the next page is our fire department. Gone through these or provided these with to our fire chief, and just as our ongoing budgeting process for the next year. Set up meetings or requested meetings with various department heads to discuss summary budgeting with an anticipation to deliver a draft 2024 budget to the council by December, and then approval in January. Fire is basically on track. On the revenue side, just not we hadn't received a grant that was budgeted for $32,000. On the expenditure side, it is tracking quite well. We have 2/3 of our budget left as at June 30th, 2022 or 23. I'm sorry.
It's under 4 training meals. That seems to, we've almost spent the entire budget, but then the comments next door, the boathouse Christmas party, hopefully they haven't had a boathouse Christmas party yet. I think that might be last year's note, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah. That's just to describe.
But that one is certainly going over budget. You've got a grand left and you haven't had the Christmas party yet. So I don't know if there's an explanation of that one. It's a small number, but it's a large percentage, right?
So one question under interest payments. So we're looking at substantially reduced interest payments, are we?
Year to date, 600.
Substantially increased interest payments.
payments of interest are decreased over previous year.
We're at $680 apparently to June. Last year we paid $1,300. Budget was $905. It was pretty tiny, so I didn't put a note.
Yeah, there's a similar number in the workshop ones coming up later, but it's related to the interest rates. That's why we're going to go over budget. Interest rates went up.
Right, so this is related to increases in interest rates, pure and simple.
That's why it's not 905, it's only got $200 left. But you'll see that on the public works one next. It's
Right.
The next page is planning and development. Didn't see anything that was concern or no. So if there's any specific question, I'm happy to address it or take down a note to address in the next meeting, but this was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, some detailed ones, yeah. Move on.
Yeah. Parks and Rec. Again, pretty much on budget for everything. The grants, thank you. We granted $10,800 for grants, $10,900 in the current year to June. And we only budgeted $5,500. So the grants that were not included in the budget, there was an event committee grant, and there's $6,000 approved by council for March 21st yearly events reimbursing hall rental chairs and table rentals. That's just what I could glean from our invoicing details. Yeah, so we're get some more grants than the proposed budget.
So we missed the events committee in our budgeting. What's that? Been a lot of discussion about it. It was down from last year, so it's right.
Anything else is pretty much on track there.
This invasive species one, in your note 5 there, I wouldn't mind just giving some updates on actually what was spent and what was done there and what wasn't.
So
Anecdotally, I think they did less than they normally do.
that was that's Claudia. So they presented a report. So they asked beginning of the year, well, this is what we're going to do. So they give us basically a recommendation on what the report was going to look like, and they provided the report and gave us the budget. That was, they were going to incur on that. I believe it was like $15,000. So it's all done, and then we've received a report.
So they did bill the full $15,000. Okay. I wouldn't mind seeing that report. I thought it was in that.
Piece of species report.
The gardening service. She made a delegation. No, she made a delegation, but I didn't. I thought that the way we were going to underspend on that. Not that we spent the full 15,000. Anyway, maybe I'll. Okay.
Public Works is on the next page. It's purely a cost center.
But you'll see your interest payment item. We've only got 5% left in the budget. The budget for interest payments, and that's because the interest rates went up.
Yeah.
Not because we've got to buy any more vehicles or lease any more vehicles.
Yeah, that's just purely interest on our MFA loans. That's about it. We're on track for wages and salary. Actually, we're under budget for that. Staff. So we're tracking underneath that. As at June 30th in Public Works, we're call it $400,000 in cost, and our budget is $810,000. We're right on track.
Yeah, I can just point out that that's not really on track at all. The reason that we're under our salaries, we've been down 2 headcounts since December. That's a bad thing, not a good thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Next page is water
Um,
revenue.
this, sorry, number, no, Bayview Bridge one, is this? I highlighted in yellow this whole statement of account here on this one ends with neither public works manager believes. Is that, that's not currently accurate where we are now, right? So maybe we just should ignore that note and get an update, proper update coming to council at some point.
I did notice with some $1,000 uplift to the $425,000 budget, it's not reflected in the note.
Yes.
So, and that was done at budget time. So, unless I'm missing it somehow in the smoke and mirrors. So that brings the budget up to 475. But I've already advised council, the bridge is going to come in significantly higher than that.
What do you estimate final?
So hard to see, and that's why I so wanted to see this BBA, because you know, we've been incurring some costs now to get the thing finished. They're all small-ish. The contractor, for example, they put the whole thing together, did it for 24, Joe? We just paid his bill on Friday. So
Yeah.
but you know, those kinds of levels, the telehandler rental and the traffic lights, you know, they're all smallish.
So we're up over $500,000.
Will be well over $500,000.
Original estimate was how much?
Well, it depends on how far back you want to go. The reason that the bridge wasn't replaced was because replacement was going to cost 170,000. But that was never realistic either. So it is what it is. We now have to finish because there are costs. For example, the capital rental is 4,000 a month. So you know that adds up relatively quickly. But yeah, we've probably got a month to go, and then costs will end on the bridge. But
Right.
to answer your question, put it this way, I'm personally returning a can of paint worth $500. Say $500, special paint.
Yeah. Okay, Joe.
Thank you, Carl.
Water, revenues are on track. The only thing that you booked is the year-end entry for the MP actuarial gain, but basically we'll get the 1092 budget. And then amortization is booked at year end. There shouldn't be any deviation from the budget. Their maintenance costs year to date are 18,000 versus 114,000 budget. It's you can provide a little bit more detail on that one, but we haven't incurred budget expenditures on maintenance for water to what we're expecting.
Sorry, Joe.
Probably for an explanation on that. That's a huge variance.
Water user rates?
Well, eightfold.
Water user rates?
Yes, this is the incoming revenue from the water bills. that
Yeah.
day? So it's been paid in full?
Yep.
So there.
No, water, no, there's a little bit, there's a, in accounts receivable as at June 30th, there's a receivable for utilities. We've billed for everything. And then by August, we've collected substantially all of it. I didn't know it here.
So looking at this, I would infer that everybody's paid their utilities and water?
No, that can't be true.
No, it can't be true.
There are some receivables still.
Right, okay,
They're not, you know, they're not, some people pay them early, but not everyone.
Yeah.
right,
That can't possibly be true.
right. That's my point. Yeah.
We need to correct that.
Follow up on the maintenance, what was actually budgeted for there. I believe it was maintenance was just budgeted 2022 plus 5% for inflation. But I'll check to see what was actually incurred in 2022 and if there's anything we're missing for or expecting to have in the last half of the year.
So the secondary suites. Fees are down significantly from what we thought. We made a change last year to say that fire people that could prove they had a firefighter staying with them didn't have to pay that. But I would like a bit of analysis of what actually happened there. And was that the cause of the significant difference?
Sure, and I'll check to see if there's any part that's still, okay, yeah, no.
Yeah, but it gets paid
Yeah.
with the other.
Yeah.
Rates and taxes, so it should be, it should be paid up.
Yeah.
Substantially like the others. There's a big difference there. And then when you get to the sewer one, it's actually the other way around. It's actually bigger than it used to be, and it was planned, which seems a little odd or sort of counterintuitive to this. So anyway, those two things I wouldn't mind a report to see the impact of that decision. What did it actually do? And do we believe it's creating more opportunities to firemen to stay in suites, which was the intention? But I don't know if it necessarily proves out. But anyway, if you want to look into that.
Right, yeah, so I'll look at both of those. Sewer, it's. Yeah, like I mentioned, higher than was budgeted, and that's the secondary suite. So I'll take a look at that in conjunction with the water, just to see, what the variance is on those two. Don't really have much to.
Your note 4 with about public works. Salaries and budget costs, it says refer to note 9 below. There is no note line. Carry over.
Oh, right, yeah,
Carry over.
clean that up. And yeah, so don't really have much to.
So on the general fund sewer, it's note number 2. It says here, some reallocation of staff as well as loggers, lanes, repair, move 2 op staff from sewer to work, public works for a month, etc. This is an old issue. That didn't happen this year. These are old notes that should be deleted from here, right?
Sure, yeah, I kept in stuff from 2022 just for context, but I can remove it just to clean it up and focus on 2022.
Yeah, it's not an explanation for that variance.
Okay, yeah, no worries. Clean that up.
And just to be clear, Joe, these things that you're going to clear up and provide answers on, these will come before council again in an amended form, or in what form will this be presented?
I'll be presenting this on a monthly basis. We clean up do our month end. And I've got my spreadsheets set up so that I can basically spend an hour and give you up to date, like daily by segment. I can update everything here in about an hour.
Okay.
So I'll anticipate going forward, providing you with hopefully take less time because you'll be seeing it monthly, but a budget to actual by month. And then I'll incorporate comments as we go on, and that should assist with the budgeting process and keep everybody engaged.
Time for the budgeting process, we're going to start soon.
Okay, thanks.
And
I've got another note in there from 2020. I guess you can kill that one as well.
yeah, that was the the last page on this is the capital expenditures. So I did add some notes at the bottom to the cost and to September 19th. Because there wasn't much that had been done to June 30th. And the main item was that we did the road paving and paid the invoice of $325,000 in August. We're expecting to incur some more costs with CLAT, with construction starting like last week. That's kind of the main stuff. I could ideally need to take a look at the note 6 here for the bridge repairs. Councillor Abbott noted that some of the bridge deck joints that I thought, yeah. So
those should all be moved to 325 Bayview Bridge project. It's got nothing to do with the bridge joint repairs.
Yeah.
The bridge deck joints in the budget, the 300,000.
Yes.
But we haven't started that. Project.
No, but this list Joe's got under number 6 is all the stuff you're doing on 325 Bayview Bridge.
Yeah, that's all.
It's in the wrong place.
Yeah. So move that over for clarity.
Note number 1, here again, cleaning of the washrooms. These washrooms, cleaning of washrooms should not be a capex budget against the Lions Bay Beach Walk project. Don't think you're going to get that one passed. you shouldn't be trying anyway. So I guess we spend a lot of time cleaning washrooms, but we better put them in one place where it's obvious and they're out. They're not capex, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's more of a note to myself. That's the only cost that we're incurred. It's not hitting the capital expenditures related to Lions Bay Beach Park. It's sitting in maintenance in their in the parks budget. That's all I've got for you. If there aren't any other questions, move on.
Okay, any other questions? Joe, you got some things to clean up there for us? Any other questions before we move on?
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe. Okay, item 10A2, 3, clap building update.
Sorry, before you do, may I
Mhm.
interrupt? And ask Joe a question about budget. You want me to ask?
Go ahead.
Joe, I wonder if you can just give council a very brief update of what your plan is with regard to this budget cycle in terms of our discussion last week?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I briefly mentioned it during the budget to actual discussion, but we would like to have a budget ready for approval or adoption by council early January. To that end, I've been sending out meeting requests with our departmental heads to review budget to actuals up to the end of September in the next couple of weeks. Review those numbers, 2 weeks to digest the numbers, and then meet at the end of October to look at realistic budgets for 2024 going forward. By the end of September, we should pretty much know exactly what we're on track for as far as budget to actuals and be able to plan for the next year. Expect that we'll have a draft budget to present to council after input from all of our departmental heads and review from the CAO by December. And then by January, after giving ample time for council to review, have an opportunity to adopt the budget for the next year.
Okay, that's good.
Add-ons if I could. Thank you. So Joe may or may not know that we're going to bring this forward in a structured way in a report so that you can have that hard copy and the community could see it. One of the ideas that I had kind of floated with Joe was the notion of, again, bringing it forward for council's consideration as participatory budgeting. So involving the community with regard to providing input on a somewhat limited basis. I don't think folks are going to want to get into the nitty-gritties of acquisition of paper and pencils and so forth. But in terms of the aspects of budgeting, that'll be brought forward for council's consideration as well. So stay tuned for that report.
Where do you see dropping the information or forwarding the information to the finance committee? Would that be in?
That'll be in the report where it's all of the sort of the methodology, the mechanics of how this process is going to be set out will be brought forward for council's consideration. Now, in that discussion, council can obviously choose to specify preferences. You may say, no, we wanted something dealt with earlier, in this month or this week or later or whatever. So there's the ability for council to weigh in on the extent to which you might want to see some modifications of the proposed methodology and scheduling.
So council used to get from the CFO a detailed sheet, like 2 pages long, of it in each meeting you see which version of each budget may be approved. It's pretty detailed. So yeah, something that would be great. Send you guys there. Oh, you've seen, talking about. That's true.
But the goal is we want to make the processes clear, transparent, predictable, informative as we possibly can, and to hit the ground running in 2024.
These outline here, the deadlines are earlier, which is great. I'm not suggesting we have a deadline, but all the different steps are broken down, which is very helpful. Us to know what's coming, and we didn't have to try to chew it all. Processing, as you said.
All right, that's very positive. Sounds like the schedules moving forward, and we'll look forward to that. Okay. All right, next item on the list is the Clap building update. Carl, any update on the Clap building?
Nothing substantive. The project officially started on the 27th of September, and that information is provided to the appropriate platform. We are now waiting for revised bid drawings so that we can go out to tender. The plan is still to come in or lower than the amount of the grant. And I think out of the process that we will actually get a pragmatic design and execution that the users of the building, who are more than just fans, will like. So I'm positive about the project working and getting delivered well before the deadline, which is the end of the 23rd of December next year.
Okay, that's great.
So the scope was revised again.
Very much so. Essentially, the whole back part is future. The second story.
But that your story business, that was taken out of the previous scope
We've
review.
now worked out how to actually do that.
Where you said-
Structure it constructively.
Okay,
We're going to use existing footings. We're going to frame it for a future second floor, but not et cetera. It's details.
Not gonna build it, but it'll be ready to go.
But it's going to be good.
okay.
Okay, any other questions for Carl?
Yeah, we've got bunches of questions coming to mind about this. Well, I'll try to keep some of them, I guess, for a different time. When you say stakeholders, SARS got involved as well?
Yeah.
Because they've been excluded previously?
Yeah.
Okay. These grants always have a maximum amount, normally around 15% that you can spend on design fees.
Yeah.
With this another rendition, have we blown by that?
No, not at the moment. The money spent so far is 42. So we have a little bit of wiggle room left. And it is 15%
Yeah,
of, let's say, 500,000 in round numbers.
the 15 includes CM as well, right?
That's going to be free.
That's where we're going to go, because Andrew's going to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Project management is going to be internal and construction management is going to be.
Okay. That's how you escape that. Okay, so there's no over budget items that council need to consider yet.
No, to the extent that there is a detailed budget. No.
No, but if we were going over the 15%, that would be a council matter because it wouldn't be granted, part of the grant. But that's not going to happen yet.
We're going to be close, but we're not going to overstep.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Carl, for that update. Okay, next item is, was formerly C, is now B, council, Councillor Cunliffe and Broughton, update on the Lions Bay Beach Park.
Okay, we had a meeting last Wednesday, I believe, and fortunately, our new CAO was able to attend, which we very much appreciated. It was introduced to the entire committee and we had a very, very good meeting. There's concerns around the committee has put forward 3 different requests for proposals and has worked through those. So what's happened is the committee brought forward a recommendation to council in the beginning of April. Actually, Councillor Abbott and David Lee put together a proposal for the committee to put out a request for proposal for the architecture. And because the staff does not exist to put out the work that we needed in order to move forward. So council authorized that April 4th. The council accepted the proposal from Millennia June the 6th after recommendations from the committee. And then there was another request for proposal put out for the construction management and the playscape. The recommendations were made from the committee on August the 2nd, which went to an August the 3rd special council meeting. And and at this point, the council has approved the request for decisions. But we're also working through the actual contractual implications and so on. So I certainly applaud the Lions Bay Beach Park Committee for making the best of a very challenging situation and creating some incredible and amazing outcome. The committee met last Wednesday, as I said, September 22nd. And with CAO Blackwell there, we were looking to clarify the request for proposals and also the contract awards and any proposals that have been made to date. So it was an excellent meeting, and with council members, our CAO, Mr. Blackwell, and the committee, we're collaborating to create a formal report for the October the 17th meeting. Council and the community will be able to have a deeper understanding of the project and where it's at and how this has been achieved. So we'll have a more formal presentation for you at the August 17th meeting, which will be ahead of more information coming to the community in November in terms of an open house that's being discussed. So there'll be a lot of information coming forward in the next little while. Committee's working very, very well and moving things forward beautifully. So I think that's where we're at this point.
All right. Thanks for that update. Any questions?
Question, yeah. Remember, we discussed way back when having have your say about this. As I recall. We did, yeah. So are we planning to move ahead with that or
I think the bulk of the work, I mean, to have your say in the consultation and all of that is history. The committee's been formed and they've been working based upon all of that feedback that was already given. So by going out to a have your say now would be like zeroing out and starting again.
Yeah, but this is before your time, but I recall that we were going to have a have your say that went out to the wider community and that it would inform the committee.
The concept, yeah.
Yeah, and
that had happened though prior, like the committee existed prior to this council and an enormous amount of consultation and work had been done. So that
Marcus is correct.
Committee was formed. Yeah, committee was formed with 19 members originally.
Yeah,
and then reached out to the community. There's been opportunities, input opportunities.
and then again in January, it went back out again.
Yeah. Marcus is correct. We said there was going to be another have your say. The committee decided not to do one. That's the answer, correct?
Well,
because they feel they've got enough.
I'm unaware of that.
Yeah.
That is the truth.
I think they felt they had enough information. They'd consulted with the community, and some of the members of the committee were also on the previous committee.
There's only so much.
And information
so many times
provided in whenever possible in the village update. So
will not be another
suspect will be
no.
There will be an open house.
An open house showcasing where there'll be
there and
people available to answer questions but that would be literally starting from scratch.
Yeah, I mean, I would just comment, it's a pity we missed the ball on that because we could have done it early. The have your say in this council term as this committee was reconstituted or put together, and that would have perhaps given the wider community.
Well, there was the opportunity in January or December that went out, and there was several meetings that happened at the village hall where there was a couple dozen or more residents, and it was broadcast to the entire community, and then the committee was whittled down from there.
The original committee as well too represented like 18 different subgroups of and so there's been an extensive amount of consultation. So okay, so anyway,
any other questions?
We'll bring a formal presentation to you on the next meeting.
Question, repeated the question around these RFPs.
Yes.
Got awards. So when it came to the council meeting, I asked if we could see them,
Yes,
and we said yes, and we still haven't seen them. I intended to come to the committee and ask the question, but your agenda didn't get posted, so I didn't realize you had a meeting, otherwise I would have come and asked them. I was looking out for it, but when are we going to see, when is council going to see these RFPs? As well as the
Standing
proposals?
says you received all the RFPs for the playscape
No,
and also for
no, and you sent a sheet,
no, I know what I sent. Yeah.
how it was scored. For
My understanding was that you received the 4
I haven't
presentations.
seen it.
Okay, but we'll make sure that you received it. Those were distributed. Perhaps did not.
I haven't seen it either.
Okay, terrific. We'll make sure that you get those. You also requested the 2 RFPs for the CMs, which I believe one of them, there was an issue with.
So to be clear, we've seen no RFPs. We've seen, try to send 2 proposals, responses to the RFPs. Where one proposal we received, the other one, the document file was correct. So we've seen 1 proposal, we've seen no RFPs. Okay.
Perhaps we
Okay.
might bring that
We'll
to the
make
next meeting or distribute it.
I think that'll be part of the formal report is we can get that to you ahead of that time.
Sure.
And in order to inform, be better informed with the formal report when you receive it.
Good.
Okay?
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest that we add that to the package for everybody to.
No, that could be a closed, I mean.
No, it's closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and even at that, I don't think it's something we need to spend a lot of time extensively discussing. The committee has made their decision and they've put forward their recommendations, so.
Sure, but to Neville's point, we.
I understand,
should see
I
this.
understand you'd like
Yeah.
to see them, yes, I just don't think it's something that we need to spend a lot of time discussing.
Right.
The decision's been made, it's.
Yeah. I
It's
think
moved
there's a
at this
reason why we
point.
have 2 councillors on the committee, so.
But you can spend your Saturday reading it.
I will just say once
Sorry,
again,
Neville.
I will not approve something sight and I asked to see it.
I understand,
Okay, so don't
I hate,
not poke this bear, please.
no,
Okay.
it's all,
The playscape material was forwarded and there was the second CM RFP. Okay, point taken. Okay.
yeah.
Okay, any other questions? No,
It's going to be amazing.
I'm sure it is. You've got a fabulous group there and you're moving it forward. It's great to see.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sounds good.
next item is Councilor Brown, an update on the CM.
I just reflecting on the UBCM, and I'm not expecting you to read these or whatever, but I am making them available to you in the event that you would like to, so that's good down. Good. UBCM, as you know, was the week before last, and in Vancouver this time, it really was an outstanding opportunity to meet with various government officials. So all council were invited. I really encourage as many council members as possible to attend next year because at Whistler. Believe Councillor Cunliffe attended, was it last year at Whistler? Or a couple of years ago?
20.
It's last year. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
last year, 20?
Anyway, the opportunity for
Yes, it was.
contacts and so on is just amazing. So it's incredible
Yeah,
experience. So I spent most of 4 days at the conference and met huge amount of different members of councils from all over British Columbia and small, large, and so on. But I think most useful meetings were with some of the smaller communities who are struggling with similar kind of things that we are. And so anyway, this is like a reflection page, I guess, if you like, different things that were going on the different days. But I did accumulate a huge amount of information, which I'll be distributing to different groups, particularly on housing funding and announcement from the Premier regarding training to facilitate volunteers to train for wildfire type of work. And also there were some significant announcements made by the Premier last week ago Friday. So anyway, very, very valuable experience. And there's a tremendous number of amazing people involved in local politics in this province, and it was quite a wonderful experience to be involved with them. I was quite impressed with the quality of the provincial staff as well. And in terms of the different sessions that I attended, the people who came forward really are looking for ways to assist communities and small, in particular, I believe, small communities. And that was very evident. Bright young people, for the most part, very anxious to really create outcome. So it was very useful.
Glad you feel that way.
Mr. Blackwell?
Thank you. I put my schedule back.
If I could just bring this to your attention. So certainly of any of these events that council could attend, this has the greatest potential for a number of reasons. In flipping through that budget session, I was looking at your line items available for this sort of thing. And what stood out, and maybe I missed it, is that you don't have much money set aside for attending. So through this budget cycle, this should be something that council considers. Do you want to set aside enough? This is not cheap. So conference attendance fees, accommodation, and travel is a lot. It's a big commitment. There's value in it for you as a council, for the community as a whole, but you may want to have this on your radar when it comes to budget discussions to make sure you have sufficient budget.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for that. And you also attended a couple days as well. So what was your feedback on how did you think the conference was compared to some of the other years you attended?
It was extremely well attended. I think they had in the neighborhood, rounding it off, about 400 more attendees than last year. They're always very well run events. But it's sort of like the buffet table. Not anything, you don't want to go in for the bread buns. You want to go straight to the meat. So, when it comes to minister meetings, there's value in an entire council attending those.
Yeah.
It brings a certain gravitas to the issues. So there was a lot of that. It was a really well done event as usual. It's fantastic. I wasn't there much, but the bit that I was there, they met the bar as usual.
I think what I thought it was a great experience attending for the first time, but I thought your comments on preparing for the various meetings and the ministers and really having your wish list in place and maybe working on that as a council and part of our strategy moving forward, kind of getting those documents prepared, being able to go in with something in hand and some requests. I thought that was good advice. So hopefully next year we can prep a little bit more.
So if I could, so the requests, UBCM have deadlines associated with requests for ministerial meetings. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what they are, but council should absolutely be thinking strategically. Some councils just overshoot and they have something like 8 or 9 ministerial meetings and they're completely spent by the time this is over. So I would say, maybe focus, limit it, but there are so many issues here that, 5 or so ministerial meetings where it's sort of speed dating, I think could in fact prove to be quite valuable. So doing that in advance, well enough in advance so that you figure out where your priorities are and in sufficient time that presumably Marina can register council, it would be optimal.
Good. All right. Thanks for that feedback and thanks for the update, Councillor Brown. Okay, next item, we struck most of the items under council, but we do have the council request the EPC pursue updating the village evacuation plan on a priority basis. think we had discussed moving that to the emergency planning committee. Any discussion required?
No.
Okay, we'll move on. Next item on the list is under committees is Councillor Abbott and Reuter, update on the Climate Action Committee.
Yes. Page 37. So the one outstanding thing that we've already spoken about was use of R1 diesel, but then there was a very specific request that could we use R100 diesel in the oil furnace. And I have asked the public workshop manager to look into that. But I just wanted to let the council know that that's what committee wanted to do and see if they had any thoughts on that. So this is basically, we have an oil furnace, so we're getting up to speed. One of this committee's early goals, and it still is an unfinished goal, was to get this facility off oil and onto a heat pump system. It gets complex around the use of the generator and emergency and heating in winter and all of those things. Well, I won't bore everyone with here. So we're still working on that. It's still one of our key goals, and we'll be coming back to council at some point with with an update to that plan. But this suggestion was if we could use R100 diesel as the oil furnace fuel. R1 diesel is biodiesel, renewable diesel. That would actually almost give us our committed greenhouse gas emissions at this stage instantly, just by doing that. So that's the quest. I guess you have the time to continue, Carl?
No, but it's a simple request. I just have to ask the manufacturer.
Yeah. The second one that was out there and came up in those meeting was the survey. Back to us on that. I think it's a fairly inconsequential cost, to be honest, because we've done them before, but that was the request from council. We come back to us on that, so we'll do that sooner rather than later.
If I could, would council be satisfied if this is just an email? Yep. Circulate?
Sure.
And if there's any concerns?
I don't think it should take more than that, to be honest, but okay.
Okay.
Okay, and then the terms of reference. So the committee did relook the terms of reference when we first started getting quite late earlier this year. Somebody do some formatting changes here. All right. This document has track changes in it, but I wasn't expecting to see these format changes. Someone else must have done some format changes. That's okay. You ignore those. So, few things we changed. The terms of reference used to say the committee will expire. The term will expire on the 15th of October 2022. So we're not changing that to 2026. It's written this way because this committee basically has a council term. So it gets re-established with new members potentially. Although many of them came over from last year. The council term, so that's the one change. Sorry, I'm on page 48, if I'm not, so you can follow along. The other changes, all the changes in blue are the changes. So the other two changes are around adding the climate resilience aspect to greenhouse gas emissions. The previous committee was focused on greenhouse gas emissions, not on climate resilience. They were focused on reduction because you can't prevent it because it's here. But there was no one who looked at the resilience part. So that's what we've added, in one particular member of the committee is more focused on that. So these are the changes we put into the terms of reference. So you can, I'm hoping everyone read them. The report was there. But that's basically the only significant or substantive change. And yeah, that was it. Obviously just update the policy. So the ask is that the council approves, adopts this updated terms of reference.
Okay, a motion, a second. All right, all in favor? Okay.
Yes.
Carried. Okay. With that. Next item is emergency services, our RCMP report. Everyone has that, motion to receive. The move. Second. All in favor? Opposed, carried. Okay, nothing under resolutions, bylaws, and next item is correspondence. And over to you, Councillor Cunliffe.
All right, so we have from the Daily Hive, that's essentially been already asked and answered. The Cemetery, Interment and Funeral Services Act of British Columbia, so this is near and dear to my heart. Essentially, alkaline hydrolysis has been legalized and in use in Southern California for over 20 years. It's a different type of cremation where you just essentially go back into the gray water and it reduces carbon emissions significantly. There's been calls for this in Canada. The province of Saskatchewan has a facility. The province of Ontario has a facility.
Process signing up.
Trying to have a green cremation and flying yourself there sort of negates the whole process. So what I would like to do is bring back a motion to the next meeting and support this, because without this sort of support, this is going to be a very slow moving process in British Columbia. And I think we need to get there. So that's my spiel there. So in spirit, if I bring this back, do I have support?
Bring it.
Thank you. Okay. Foster Family Month, so wonderful. I don't know what else we can really do other than receive that. And then did you have a chance, Michael, to go by the human trafficking?
I did not do the anti-human trafficking, no.
Okay, so, and then I'm just going to defer to the CAO when it comes to resident correspondence. He is suggesting that we make a revision to our procedures bylaw. I think we need to. Ray, could you please take this one from me?
Mr. Blackwell.
Thank you. So I guess the prevailing comment is, it's important to ensure the community receives all of the information that they're asking for, that they need to expect, and council needs to be open and able to receive information from the community. However, that said, it becomes problematic if it's just a free-for-all. You gotta have a structure around this. If you don't have structure, it can be problematic. For example, having two public sort of input opportunities is, I've never seen that before. There's a better way to do that, and I'll bring that forward to give us it. You'll know how time constrained folks feel. There are different ways to deal with this, so that folks have greater latitude to share their concerns, which is not at a formal council meeting per se. When it comes to correspondence, there's no way to adjudicate per se what should hit the agenda and what shouldn't. So some could be offensive. And somebody has to be the arbiter as to what is unduly offensive and so forth. So the normal practice around this sort of thing is that the information is provided to council through their email and or hard copy. If any member of council wants to add an item to the agenda for discussion, that can be done. But using the council time and for dealing with correspondence that may or may not have anything to do with the council agenda, council work, is not the best use of council time or staff resources in support of that. So there are other ways to do all of these things. It's just about readjusting. It's not about taking anything away. It's about reorganizing, readjusting how best and most efficaciously, sorry for that word, provide these opportunities for the community to sort of streamline.
So we look forward to the efficacy of your proposal.
I can't promise it will be, but.
So you were going to bring something forward, but we will keep moving ahead in this fashion.
For now.
until such time.
Okay,
That being said,
so
Is this something-
is this something you're bringing or you're suggesting for this evening or for the
In the
future?
future, I'll be coming with a report for council's consideration, which will be about fine tuning, streamlining, improving sort of the way that the village and the council can optimize how it connects with residents.
Okay, let's look forward to that.
So this will be a report of the council table, was the some committee of the whole type session?
Really, it should be a committee of the whole. Yes, it's the best.
there's a lot of discussion that can be had here.
There'll be the discussion.
Yes.
Yeah, and then regimented 2 minutes, then it's probably not going to fly on this one, I think. Okay,
So I would say for this purpose, most of the correspondence is just received. A couple of comments about the watershed, which highlights the conversation that Phil brought to light. It's supposed to take place with the 3 different levels, like, was it Vancouver Coastal, BC Wildfire, Ministry of Forests, to come up with our evacuation plan, weigh in on that, and I think part of that discussion is protection of the watershed. And I really don't have much else to know unless somebody else wants to. The evacuation brochure has been addressed. I think we determined last meeting that Bear Smart is not part of bylaw enforcement. Highway safety is ongoing. That's a discussion we need to maybe throw back at staff and say, how do we make the RCMP pay more attention to us? Because speeding is an issue. I don't know if anybody else was stuck on the side of the road a week or so ago. I was fortunately 600 meters from the Kelvin Grove exit, so I just pulled my car over and walked. But yeah, I think we need to get some more enforcement. I don't know, I haven't checked in with
I did
Greg
these ghost sign or.
with his
Weary.
Yeah, I don't think you're allowed to do that. Counselor Brown?
Yeah. Well, I just think as part of the meeting that we were going to talk about committees, I think we definitely need to look at a highway noise and, together with that, a safety committee. So I think that definitely needs to be in place. Should be ongoing. I think, that which we pay attention to changes. So I think the more we can pay attention to highway concerns, the more likely we're going to have some kind of a benefit. Certainly think if the RCMP, notice us paying more attention to some of the issues here that we'll get more support. And I think they work by numbers. I think the more times they're contacted, the more involvement that the village has with meetings or whatever with the RCMP, the more support we'll get. And I think there's a real role to play. We had a lot of success in the past getting support from ICBC, because anything that reduces a single accident can save potentially millions of dollars. And if they can financially support us at all, my experience in the past has been they're willing to do that if you put together credible suggestions. So
Okay. Motion to receive.
make that motion.
Second.
Sure.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, next thing, new business, no new business. We'll open it up to questions. And then we'll go from questions back into close.
Looks for me.
Okay. Anyone in the gallery like to speak? Okay, we'll go to the online gallery. If there's any questions, please put up your hand. Okay, Tanya, if you'll unmute, you got 2 minutes.
Hey, guys. Good to see all of you. Thank you very much for being there on our behalf. You guys are working hard, and I know it's late. It's past everybody's bedtime. I just wanted to address really briefly the parking potential parking committee. hopefully that's going to come to fruition at some particular point. I know you've heard from CAMBIZ and FARA virtually every meeting, probably at a bit of exhaustion, but you can see how desperate obviously they are for getting a solution to make their livelihood a little bit happier down there. I just wanted to remind you guys that there's people, of course, on Mountain that have got all of their parking issues. As Councillor Abbott will know and understand, there's the people down on Lions Bay Avenue that have got some beach issues. We've got Brunswick Beach, which has a whole slew of parking issues with their friendly nudist beach down there. There's a few, so I guess what I'm saying is that CAMBIZ and FARA are not the only ones that are impacted here. And I know you guys have a ton on your plate. And if there's any way that I can be of assistance to help get this committee started, please use my services if you'd like. I know we have several city planners in the village that have been on the back burner here waiting to hop onto this committee to offer what they can. And that's valuable. So I'm hoping that this isn't just being deferred because you guys are so busy that you can't get it on your schedule. And if it is, and we are able to help, please let us help. That's what a committee is for. I know you need to set the parameters of the committee out, but maybe the committee can do that with one of the counselors on board and have that ready for you guys to approve so that you guys are not necessarily having to sit and hash it out for hours at another meeting. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say, and thank you very much, and welcome on board to our new CAO. I look forward to meeting you at some point. I've been in the office a few times, but I keep missing you. Anyway, have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, Tanya. Anyone else, Marina? Okay, there's no other hands showing, so with that, we'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting. Second. Okay, and we'll move into close. All in favor?
Yep.
Yeah, opposed, carried. Thank you. We will go back into closed and then we'll report out at the end of the closed. And we're not sure what time that will be, but if there's anyone around, you can tune